Good day, everyone. My name is Bradley Mason, and I'm the Sales and Business Development Manager for Sectional Title Solutions.
Hi there, everyone. My name is Schmidt, and I'm a solutions consultant for STS.
Let me start by saying thank you so much for watching our video. The reason that we chose to make a video today was that we came across a really interesting situation where a community scheme down on the coast was looking for some funding in order to replace their thatch roof with an aluminium option. And we feel that it created a really interesting case study. There were multiple competitors in play. There was a very diligent group of trustees. The managing agent was very diligent and provided a very professional service. But ultimately, as is the case sometimes within the space, it was a very contentious meeting, and the owners were very demanding in the kind of information that they were looking for.
So we received the following brief from the managing agent from this high LSM scheme in KZN, and they were looking for a loan with the following criteria. So first of all, it had to be repaid in either 5 or 6 years. It must include an early repayment option without any additional penalties, and they offered a legal hold on their levy roll or their levy flow, and they were not willing to sign any personal surety. They also mentioned that they sent this specific brief onto several market-leading funders in the South African market space.
Yeah, and all of those nuances allowed us to engage with the trustees to ensure that the ultimate proposal that we would put forward met all of their criteria. Another thing that we do whenever we start a new engagement with a client is we try to gather as much information as possible to ensure that they haven't potentially overlooked something that would be pertinent to the situation within their initial brief. So we always go through their last audited financial statements. We would go through their debtors age analysis. We would go through perhaps minutes of previous meetings, all to allow us to ensure that the proposal that we ultimately submit is going to be a good fit. But I'll let Anae tell you a little bit about that.
So in this specific situation, myself and our team, we had a look at their customer or debtors age analysis, whichever one you are familiar with, as well as the latest 2-year financial statements. And we noted that they did not have any significant arrears or debt. So this just shows we don't only help bodies corporates who are struggling financially, we are also here to assist any and all community schemes with our solutions.
Absolutely. And I think the big takeaway from that point is that once a scheme has decided that they need to spend a certain amount of money on anything, and then they need to decide whether they want funding, the sort of ultimate check or defining criteria should be, could you access capital at a rate that's cheaper than any option that you've been given? And if yes, obviously take that option. Or should you want to raise an upfront special levy and all the owners would be in favor of paying their share of the project upfront, then again, don't look for a funder. That would be fantastic, and you would negate interest and all sorts of processes that you wouldn't have to. So that really was the starting point for our discussion. And once we established that they really did need to have a funding option on the table, we got to work, and we were happy to present the following proposal. Okay, so for this particular project, the community scheme was looking for 5 million Rand to complete the project. As is standard practice within our group, we always include a facility for a slightly larger amount. Reason being that sometimes these projects can have some overruns in terms of costing, or perhaps an unforeseen expense may pop up along the way. And by providing this facility up front, we obviously then ensure that the community scheme has the flexibility to access some additional capital if required. Obviously, one of the benefits to this facility is it's provided at no cost. And something to make very clear is that the community scheme would only incur interest on funds that are actually advanced. So the facility again is 6.2 million. The advance amount is 5 million. The funding term, this was an abnormal request, but something that we were more than happy to assist with, in that this community scheme actually requested a repayment period of 72 months. So our standard, and certainly the standard within the industry, is typically 5 years or 60 months. And our standard offering would usually cater for between 12 and 60 months. Just from an affordability perspective, as well as a few other criteria, the scheme looked for a 6-year repayment. Like I said, we were very happy to assist them. From an interest rate perspective, our interest rate starts from prime plus 3.5%. And then in terms of fees, we have absolutely no fees. So this again is probably an important point to note. There are other models within the industry that do rely on fees, be they upfront cap raise fee or monthly administration fee. The only cost associated with our funding is this interest rate. So in this instance, starting from prime plus 3.5%, which means the total cost of our funding is prime plus 3.5%. There are other players that do have slightly lower interest rates attached to their funding, but when you factor in all of their fees, their effective interest rates or the total cost of their funding is actually much higher than ours. So this was a concept that we had to take the trustees and the body corporate as well as the managing agent through. But again, thankfully, due to their professional nature and the fact that they did have an actuarial scientist on their board of trustees, this wasn't a concept that was difficult to understand. So we presented this to them. This wasn't the this wasn't the first iteration, or should I say the first iteration of this proposal, but this was ultimately what the community scheme was happy with at the end of the day.
We also introduced an interest rate reduction incentive to them and several other community schemes we have ongoing relationships with currently. We also know financial times have been tough even before COVID-19 hits, and most people's finances have been negatively impacted by this. So community schemes and most people in South Africa are definitely feeling the strain because of this. To show that we care and we exist to help our clients, we have reviewed and revised our term funding models to make it more affordable for every single person in the market. We are able to offer clients a cheaper lending rate without any additional T's and C's. So in conclusion, we went to the special general meeting where ourselves, the managing agent and the trustees presented the solution to the rest of the owners, and we had more than sufficient votes on our specific solution over the terms that were provided to them with a specific interest rate that was approved by them. And we have another happy client.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to us today. I didn't want to go into too great a detail into our full suite of products. However, I'm sure you'll see other videos soon. So thank you so much and have a good one.
Thank you very much all.